Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin in Tucson, Arizona. Thanks for being here. Hope to see you in January at the Tucson Coin Show, TucsonCoinShow.com, where we will be having both CAC sample slabs and Annex sample slabs. And don't sleep on the Annex sample slabs, guys. More to come about that later. All right, here we go with your questions, your answers, your comments. Let's see, Mickey Mantle here says, Mickey not Mantle, if we have new reholders for crossover, can you submit a NGC first day of issue to PCGS and expect first day of issue designation? Never, always, sometimes, thanks. So I have not seen this before, and I don't believe that you can do it. My understanding is that special labels have to stay with the company that it was originally with. I've never seen a crossover done with any type of first day of issue moniker from one coin grading company to another. All right, so you guys can correct me if you'd like to. Here we go. Right in Gaudiman, are banknotes not detail graded much the same way as the ICG slabs were, with all the details information is on the back of the holder? That is a very true statement. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, so for banknotes, when you have a designation of any kind, like this looks like it's a normal straight graded banknote, but the back says previously mounted. This banknote here says annotations on the back. Here's one that also doesn't say anything on the holder, and then on the back says restoration. So it is good on banknotes to look at both sides of the holder before you buy, bid, or purchase, what have you. The difference here is the industry standard, which is, and the industry standard for coins is that you put on the front label when something is a details graded coin, and you make it clear. Paper money, as long as they've been housing these things, they've put the annotations on the back of the holder. So tomato, tomato, right? Maybe you see it as an inconsistency here, but realize that paper grading and coin grading, although they may seem like it's the same thing, both of those different arms of the collecting community have different standards for different things. All right, thank you for the comment/question. Perry Dad, hey, there's Perry. When you get an Annex coin from a collector or other source, since you're a coin shop, do you automatically crack those out and put them into a holder that will sell better? Thanks for that question. We do not, for a couple reasons. There's a lot of cost involved with doing that. Another reason is because most Annex graded coins are actually really easy to sell on coins that are, once again, I use the arbitrary number of less than a couple $100. But generally speaking, a nice looking coin in an Annex holder will find a new home relatively quickly in the marketplace. It just depends on what the collectors want, right? But just getting coins in to crack them out and resubmit them, way too expensive to do. And I should say it more often when I do Crackout videos. None of that stuff's the norm. We go through all kinds of coins here, and very few coins get cracked out. And in fact, a lot of the coins that we crack out or do crossovers on, we do a little bit more of that just because we have the channel here than probably we used to. I definitely do some more experimentation and things where it's like, this will be a fun little group, let's do these, that I might not have considered previous to having the YouTube channel. So full disclosure, sometimes we get a little crack happy around here, and it's because it's what the people want. So, but in general terms, I like to remind people, do not just crack coins out and resubmit them. Do not submit raw coins for grading. If you like a certain coin, buy it already graded. And that should be the lesson. I think for most of what we do around here, that should be the takeaway. Just don't do it all willy-nilly. Have some intention. Speaking of which, Westside saying, enjoy your videos, talking about the ICG grading, the AU qualities. After a quick review of your videos for crackouts, from ICG crossovers to PCGS, we have a 63 to 3, a 3 to a 4 plus, a 4 to 4, a 3 to 3, and a 63 did not cross, but I said I really liked the coin as a 4, and a 65 red to a questionable color. but you're still very fond of the coin. I'm sure you keep an eye. I'm sure your keen eye is cherry picking as you play the Crackout game, but maybe ICG is getting some unjustified hate. So once again, yes to the cherry picking. No, we don't just send stuff in willy-nilly. And I would say the ICG hate, I think one of the difficulties for me, once again, is I have to be consistent with what I would tell a consumer who comes in here over the counter. And so I try to do that here on the channel. I don't try to hype stuff up, and I don't try to bury things. You know, I want the information to be out there that's helpful. One of the things that's difficult in today's market, specific to like this point in time, is there are selling platforms that are becoming more popular online where there's a lot of people who are less than scrupulous, who are taking coins that are graded and graded by a company like ICG, where the coins are definitely overgraded and they're selling them. Now, if I keep coins in here, I can separate that. I can say, hey, this coin's definitely overgraded. We are not going to price it that way. We'll put a sticker over it if it says 65 and put a 64 and sell it as a 64. But the guys on those places online, the whatnots, you know, they just say stuff and sell things. And so if you look at a price guide that you're getting from a coin app, or you're looking on PCGS or NGC price guides, or even the gray sheet, and the novice collector sees MS66 on something and they see a price point, they're going to pay way too much for a coin that they shouldn't be paying that much for. And that therein lies the problem, right? Because it's a little bit of a consumer protection thing for me to understand. You can't just buy coins, and it's just a thing. Yeah, I don't know if it's hard for me to explain or not, but like, you can't overgrade coins on a consistent basis and it be good with the consumers. It used to be in the old gray sheet, if I can find one, I'll point it out. It used to be that they actually had a listing of what coins sold for, and they had like 5 or 6 different grading companies, and you would see the percentages. And so at the time, CAC didn't exist, but you'd see that NGC and PCGS, a lot of their coins were trading anywhere from 80 to 120, % of bid. And then you'd have like the NTCs and the ACI grades and the, PCIs. And some of those companies you'd see like 10% to 50%, right? It was like not even close. And the gray sheet, I thought, still had that with their blue sheet when you look at NGC and PCGS coins. And this is an area for every consumer to be careful on. There can be a big difference in price between NGC and PCGS on really high-end expensive coins. I think we'll get to more of that with a question coming down here. Roger Miller asking, how much below market can you sell a cleaned coin for? Cleaned coins, always interesting market. It depends what it is. Obviously, a gold coin may be worth melt. Silver coin might drop to melt. But a really rare coin, it might only drop 1 grade. And it depends on how harshly it's cleaned. I've had coins that said cleaned on the holder that I thought, this is a really nice coin. And I've had some that looks like a hubcap. Usually the hubcap's not as expensive. All right, here we go with Steve saying, I appreciate you don't give Annex a bum rap. Annex is at the shows here where he is, so they make it easy for me to get coins graded. It's interesting that people are PCGS or NGC snobs. I understand a super high graded priced coin should be with the company the most people like. I love your videos. Thank you. All right, appreciate the comment. So this all plays together with that concept of what's the marketplace for third-party graded coins and why do some trade for more than others? And that has to do with the consumer, right? So at the end of the day, almost every type of consumable that we have, or us as consumers, has huge price point differences between items that have the same amount of material put into them, and oftentimes the same or similar quality of material, right? So obviously there's cheap stuff that you get from Amazon or Temu or whatever, and then you get handcrafted materials, and then you get stuff that's like you're just paying for a name brand, right? And the consumers, when they've come to really accept and enjoy a certain product, and enough consumers are like-minded, it drives prices up, and or the company is able to charge more based on their identity or based on the belief of its consumers, right? This is very true in the whiskey world, where you see things that it's like, it's not really worth, it doesn't taste that much better to be in that price point, but they've kind of done the same thing. Automobiles, There's automobiles where you're not really getting an extra $50,000 worth of enjoyment out of the car. It's just got a name brand on it, and it's a little bit nicer than the one that's a little bit, it's the same concept. The big difference is that there is some free market here where you don't always have the same consumers buying the same things, right? So the reason you'll see certain coins at PCGS sell at a higher point is because the PCGS guys are all bidding to get the finest known PCGS coin, and they may not even look at the NGC coin, right? They may shun NGC the same way that an NGC buyer may shun Annex. There's a whole lot of shunning going on right now. All right, Mark saying, I lean heavily into wanting to know if a coin did not receive a sticker. We were talking about whether or not coins have been stickered and whether that should be made public. And he says, however, the issue of declined crossovers by PCGS or NGC is another area without transparency. It's the same argument, though I don't see people talking about that. Well, we're talking about it. Thanks, Mark. So whether or not a coin has been to PCGS or NGC and doesn't cross over, once again, if there's a way for them to put the information out there to the consumer, should they, can they, will they? I think we know the answer to the last one. It's going to be no. Should they? Once again, it's just kind of tricky, right? So, because if I'm in the position of the third-party grading service and you, my customer, sends in some coins to me and I'm going to do some stickering or crossover, whatever it is, this hypothetical, right? It doesn't mean that I hate a coin or a coin is bad if it doesn't cross over or doesn't get a sticker. That's not necessarily what it means. And so once again, it's that scarlet letter effect. Are you going to actually send a coin back to a consumer and all of a sudden they're going to decide to hate the coin because it didn't get the sticker or if it didn't cross over? The hard thing with the crossover stuff is, like, I would also like to know usually if a coin has been out for stickering or out for crossover. I don't know that the graders know if a coin's been there for crossover previously. My understanding is that is still blind. In other words, they're just looking at the coin in front of them. Now, if it's a very specific type of coin that's been sent in, like a very noticeable coin, they may have seen it 5 times, they may know, right? But I think, if you're sending an 81S Morgan dollars, they don't know, right? Even if you're sending a coin that's a little bit more scarce, they've probably seen so many that they don't know. So I don't think that PCGS or NGC, when they're doing crossover, actually have access to or look at or know any more than you do if the coin's been there before. CAC stickering, I also don't know that they refer to or don't refer to that in their process. So a lot of nothing to say there, but I understand everyone's want to know if a coin's been crossed, attempted, or sticker attempted before. All right, here we go. Snoopy, your writer hit it on the nail on the head regarding the CAC boxes. They hold all of the slabs, but getting the darn things open, right? So hang on, Snoopy. Maybe things will get a little bit better. I will say that hopefully someone at CAC will see this, and if so, they'll listen. And also feel free to directly contact them and say, hey, I like your boxes. Also, is there a way to make them open up easier? I think that's something that's pretty reasonable. All right, Steve's saying the reality of PCGS NGC Annex is that it's that I have resubmitted the same coin multiple times and have received a different grade each time. Also, a different grader with the same grading service often produces a different grade. Consistency is hard for humans, much like your example of umpire strike zones. Good video, thank you. All right, appreciate that comment. Yeah, and try this on yourselves, guys. If you have raw coins, or even if you have graded coins that you might not remember how they're graded, you cover the top. Make a list for yourself of how you graded a coin, set it and forget it, come back 6 months later and look at the same coin and grade it again. Test yourself in this, right? See if you can do the same thing. Because I've definitely looked at coins before, thought, oh yeah, I like this coin, put it out in the showcase. And then later I came back around, I looked at it and I thought, who graded this thing? That was me. So the consistency thing is a thing, but there's also training involved, right? You can train your eye, you can spend the time, you can take the time to try to be consistent. All right, and last here is 066, not Thunderkiss 69. I'd suggest doing a steam through to get them back to the original state. It's a bit of finessing and not invasive. So he's talking specifically about, we did a video about some PCI coins that had been that had toned over time in the holders. It said 95% white, but it was toned up very much. I'm not familiar with steaming. it sounds obvious as to what it is. And so if anyone wants to let me know a little bit more detail about steaming, you can send me a letter at the shop or email and give me the details, and we can experiment. I do some of my own conservation sometimes on coins, but I don't do anything radical or interesting, right? There's plenty of coins that I have to send in for professional conservation if I think it's a really good coin with really good upside, because I don't want to screw it up, right? So some of you guys are literally chemists, and that is not me. Damn it, Jim, I'm only a numismatist. All right, guys, thanks so much for being here as always, and thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the owl button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.